Hey guys, Daniel here. In this video, I just wanted to quickly go over some different resources and websites that I use personally when looking at different companies. So let's get started right away. These are all great resources if you're a value investor to find, and investigate different investment opportunities. To start, I use Yahoo Finance almost always. This is sort of my starting point. It's where I keep, um, some favorites listed here, some companies that I'm following, and so I like using Yahoo Finance at least as an initial sort of screen. Like if I see a company, let's use something like Ford for example, I can look at it. I can see the basic information, the market cap, the overall earnings and revenue of the company. Of course, it has to glitch a little bit now, but generally it's pretty good in terms of the quality of Yahoo Finance. You can also read a little bit about what the company does, and it also gives you good, basically vital statistics, like the P ratios and forward Ps, some just general information about the balance sheet, dividends, and so forth. So it's a good starting point, and I like it because it does give me that sort of basic snapshot view of information. When I want to dive a little bit deeper into a company, I use Y charts. Y charts is good because of all the different, financial data that they have on there, and it allows you to look at things really quickly. Like Ford Motors, if I want to see, for example, I don't know, the historical, book value, I can keep an eye on that over time, for example, and it goes back quite far. Like it goes back all the way till '84, so it gives you a good amount of long-term historical information. Same thing with the earnings. It would give you like the same thing like all the way back from '84, so it gives you a lot of good information. The other thing I like about it, there's estimates page for analyst targets, which sometimes I do look at. There's all the financial data, basically the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. So you can find those all on here. You can look up basically hundreds of different pieces of data and metrics basically on Y charts. So for that reason there, I really like it. ValueCider is the next resource that I use. I use it basically to look at the portfolio of other super investors, who's performing the best, what are their most recent buys, and you can look if you have certain investors that you really do respect. You can take a look at their portfolio, see what they've been buying, also look at their portfolio composition and so forth. So, and you can also look at even, for example, the difference between their reported price and the current price, and buy into companies at better prices than they did, provided that you understand the business. Another website that I really like is AlphaSpread. The good thing about AlphaSpread that I like is I found its intrinsic value calculations to be actually, quite accurate on the companies that I can sort of understand and value for myself. I've never really found any issues with their valuations. And the thing that I really like about it is it gives you the sort of worst case and best case scenarios. And they use both discounted cash flow and relative valuations, and they sort of average the two. And the relative valuations that they use are based off of historical metrics and industry, metrics and so forth. So I found that it is quite tends to be like fairly accurate in terms of its intrinsic value. But the thing that I really like about it is it gives you the historical intrinsic value over the last 2 years and corresponds it also with the price. So you can see when there have been historical opportunities for certain like companies to be undervalued. You can see if that's just a value trap basically. Like for example, if we look at a company like let me think, like the maybe one would be Malibu Boats actually. Um, like this company, you would say, oh, there's a huge undervaluation. Like it's undervalued by probably almost 50%. But if you look historically, it's probably a value trap because it's always undervalued. So that like it'll give you the line where it calculates an approximate intrinsic value based off of the discounted cash flows and the relative valuation, and it sort of average between those two, and then look at the actual price, how it corresponds with that, and you can see like generally speaking, even though it's undervalued currently, it's always basically undervalued, at least over the last 2 years. So there's a possibility that there's a value trap and that the market just won't pay higher or won't pay a fair price for the company. Um, Another website that I use is Dataroma. I find that this is another good resource because it allows you to quickly take a look at like what investors are buying like on a quarterly basis, like their most recent purchases, and it also allows you to sort by things like the 52-week low. And so I find that this is another good resource. You can see what other super investors are buying, and basically, that can give you clues as to where you should be looking in terms of companies, like things like Denny's, companies to Southwest Airlines, another one that's recently purchased. You can also sort by super investors and take a look at your favorite investors and see what they've been buying recently. Like if we do, if we look at his portfolio, basically we can see what the most recent buys are, and we can look at his portfolio history and so on. And so I find it's another really good resource. And Stock Circle is another website that's pretty similar to Dataroma. It'll basically give you other super investors, and you can track their performance and their portfolio's historical compositions and look at what their most recent purchases are. So if we look at, for example, Charlie Munger, I mean his portfolio basically hasn't changed that much, but you can look at basically investors, what they've been purchasing, what their portfolio is composed of, and so on. So these are just some quick resources. These are the ones that I like to use. I hope you found the video informative. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thanks.